The Douglas College has an interesting aspect to its history that is not true of the Seven Sisters, besides its somewhat more diverse curriculum and more diverse student body historically. The original women's colleges, the older women's colleges, such as Smith, for example, where originally the presidents were men. Their chief executive officers were always men. And in some cases, some of those schools did not have a chief executive officer who was a woman until well into the 20th century. Whereas Douglas has always had as its chief executive officer a woman. The Dean of Douglas has been a woman. There have been 9 deans of Douglas. 2 of those women, Polly Bunting, Mary I. Bunting, Mary Ingram Bunting, and Jewel Plummer Cobb, were in fact scientists. So the women who have been the Dean of Douglas College have been a very diverse group of very dynamic and remarkable women. Mrs. Douglas was a widow, as was Dean Bunting. Whereas Margaret Trumbull Corwin, for example, and Ruth Adams were never married. Mary Hartman, when she was dean, was married and had a young son. Dean Ambar, currently the dean, is married and has recently had a set of triplets. So these women come from a variety of family circumstances. They come from a variety of disciplines. As I mentioned, 2 were scientists. Dean Adams was in fact trained in English. Dean Foster was an economist. Dean Ambar is trained in public policy and as a lawyer. Dean Hartman is a historian. So a very, very wide variety of women who have led the college with agendas for the advancement of women in all fields. For example, Mary Hartman, who is not herself a scientist, was so concerned about the advancement and support of women in science that she was the dean responsible for founding the Douglas Project for Rutgers Women in Math, Science, and Engineering, now over 20 years old. That was her initiative, as was the Bunting Cobb Residence Hall for Women in Science, named after Deans Bunting and Dean Cobb. Bunting Cobb was the first residence hall of that type in the United States.